Hey YouTube, what's up? It's your boy Rudy, here to bring you guys another video. Today's video, we're doing a bike check. Let's get to it. All right, let's do this. This is my 2019 Santa Cruz Bronson CC X01 build. I absolutely love this bike. We're gonna go over this bike from top to bottom, front to rear, let you guys know the components that I have on it currently and the components that it came with or that I switched out, and maybe some explanation of why I did. This is my 2019 Santa Cruz Bronson bike check. Okay, let's start from the top, the handlebars. I am rocking the 1UP brand 35 mil rise handlebars. Absolutely love them. I ride them at 780 millimeters. I rode them for many months at 800, didn't think there was a problem with it at all until I picked up a different set of bars for my Chameleon, and they were already cut down to 780. I liked them so much, I cut them down to 780 and haven't gone back, and have been absolutely happy with them since. The old handlebars that I had on the bike previously were the carbon bars that come with the bike that were the Santa Cruz brand. There wasn't really anything as far as comfort goes for the bars. It's just that they were a little lower and I wanted a little bit more of a rise. Those bars came in at a 20 mil rise on a 35 mil clamp at 800. Never cut those, never touched them, still have them. I don't even have them on another bike right now. They're just sitting in a parts bin right now. Okay, moving down just a little bit lower, let's talk about the stem. I ended up going with the anvil stem. The stem that was on it previously was the Race Face 50 mil stem. This anvil stem is a 32 mil stem. The bike is a size extra large. I also felt like it was maybe just a little bit further out for me, and it lacked a little bit of snappiness in the turns. So I decided to go with a shorter stem to bring everything closer to me, and I got a little bit more snappiness out of them. The other thing that's really nice about the anvil stem is that it actually it adds a 5 mil rise to the handlebars. So not only did I go from a shorter stem, it also raised the bars up. So I went from a 20 mil rise bar to a 35 mil rise bar with another 5 on top of that. So went up about 25 millimeters in total from what the bike was, and it is set up perfectly. It climbs incredibly. I love the position that I'm in. I don't have lower back pain. I absolutely love that setup. Okay, let's move out to the bar ends a little bit. Currently what I'm running on my handlebar grips are the Spank 30 millimeter diameter. So far I'm getting along with them pretty good. I did have the Santa Cruz branded grips that I did like, didn't mind them at all, wore them out, put those to the side. I went to some P&Ws, I really do like those grips a lot, wore those out, and now I'm with the Spanks giving those a shot. Just on the inside of that, what I ended up doing was going with the P&W loam levers. So the P&W loam lever for the dropper is nice and it's padded. I love how it feels. I love how it looks and how comfortable it is. I liked it so much that I ended up getting the same lever for my X01 gear shifter on the opposite side, which is the same. It is very comfortable. I like how snappy it feels. I like how the X01 gives you the ability to adjust where you want the lever, and it's not just set it where it's at and deal with it. I really like being able to make the adjustabilities to my bike. All right, let's talk about the stoppers. So for what I got for stoppers is what the bike came with and have been absolutely money. I've only had them bled one time whenever my bike went in for its 1 year checkup. I didn't think that there was a big difference, but there was. Whenever they came back and they were bled, I could definitely tell that there was a big difference of them. But they are the SRAM code RSC 4-piston. It's a top of the line SRAM brake. What more can you want from that? They're also set up on the rotors, 200 millimeter front and 180 rear. The adjustability of them, being able to adjust your point of contact with the pad and the rotor, and being able to also adjust how far you want your lever to be. Can't beat having those adjustments. You can have the brakes exactly where you want them, have them bite exactly how you want them. If you prefer a snappier feel, you can adjust it that way. If you like a little bit more modulation, you can adjust it that way. Okay, let's move on just a little bit lower. Right in between the fork and the stem is your bearings. I went ahead and whenever I upgraded my fork, I also upgraded the bearings that are in the headset. There was absolutely nothing wrong with the bearings that came with them. I believe they were the Crane Creek 40s. I never had to re-grease them at all. The only reason that I replaced them is because I was putting the new one in, and you can't go wrong with the Chris King headset. They're the best in the market. And they had a drop set. I really liked the color match. I thought it was dope. So I dropped in the Chris King drop-in headset, and it has been money, no problems. It's been very smooth, no creaking or anything like that. So far, I'm happy with that. Okay, let's move on down to one of the bigger components and bigger upgrades. It's hard to say if it's even an upgrade, okay? What I ended up doing was I went from the Fox 36 Elite with the Grip 2 dampener, which was a great, awesome fork. I still use it. I put it on my Chameleon because I upgraded to the Zeb. I'm a heavier rider. I usually ride somewhere around 200, 210 pounds, fully geared up. And I thought that having a 38 stanchion fork was going to benefit me and my riding style and the terrain that I ride this bike in. And it absolutely has. I absolutely love the Zeb. I really, really do. I really like how easy it was for me to find the sweet spot on the adjustments for it. I do prefer a little bit more support than plush, and to find that on my Fox 36 with the Grip 2 took quite a bit longer to find. This thing was just a couple of clicks one way or the other, 3 or 4 rides, and it was dialed in. Haven't touched it since. Absolutely love the Zeb. It's a game changer. This thing handles the rough Texas steep gnar like you cannot believe. But it did come at a little bit of a price. It is obviously a little bit heavier than the Fox 36. Absolutely love it. There's nothing wrong with my Fox 36. I absolutely love that. And if I end up going with another bike, the Nomad, I might upgrade that. But first, I ended up buying this Zeb at 170 millimeters. When they shipped it to me, they installed a 160 millimeter air spring. So I think before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and bromad this bike, and I'm going to put the 170 air spring in this Zeb and see what it does, make it a bromad and shred it, see what I think. But I really like that new version of the Nomad 5 in that ox blood and gold. Man, that bike is badass. Anyways, let's continue. Okay, let's move on back just a little bit. We're gonna talk about the seat and the dropper. So the bike originally came with a RockShox reverb. That thing, I bought a bleed kit for it. I had to bleed it all the time to get the good performance out of it. I serviced it. It was in cooler weather, not even cold weather. In cooler weather, it would actuate slow. The only thing that I miss about that dropper is the action of the lever. The lever was really smooth. I've tried the 1-Up lever, and I've tried the Wolf Tooth. I've also, and then I have the P&W Loam. None of those actuators work as well as that reverb, and it's just because, you know, it's just a piston that's releasing the fluid or closing, and that was really smooth. But the action of the dropper coming up and down, not great. Anyways, what I ended up going with, and what I've got on all of my bikes, are the 1-Up components dropper. I got 210 millimeters of dropper, which I absolutely love. I got it slammed in there as much as I could. I probably could have went with a 200 millimeter dropper and then eliminated maybe another 10 millimeters of that, which I kind of wish I would have. But this thing has been money. They're super easy to maintain. You just raise that collar up, throw some grease on there, raise that collar up. You can throw some pins in there so you can adjust the height on it. I absolutely love it. I have them on 2 of my bikes. This is the 3rd one that I've owned. I had a 150, a 180, and this is the 210. And I don't know what else to say about them, but they're just super reliable and easy to maintain. Great working device. And whenever you don't have to worry about noticing it, like that's the best thing whenever it comes to any product. Right here on top of that is the Silverado seat, titanium rails on there. I don't know how big of a difference it makes, but I get along with this seat very well. The same seat with chromoly rails came on my Chameleon, which I love that seat too. I don't know whenever the time comes if I'll get another Silverado seat or if I'll move to something else. I've been seriously considering the Enduro seat by Ergon's Euro seat. I've really been considering that as an option, but for now, it's just the Silverado titanium rail seats that I love and get along with great. Okay, moving on down a little bit lower from the seat down to the shock. This is the RockShox Super Deluxe. I got along great with it. They came out with the Neg Meg. I put the Neg Meg and it totally changed the dynamic of this shock. It really did feel stiff off the top. Now it's got a lot more sensitivity. I get along really well with it. I don't have any big reason to upgrade, but I really would like to try a progressive coil shock on here. So if I do upgrade to anything else other than the Neg Meg on it, I will go with the progressive coil shock, probably King Creek or something like that. And then if we move just a little bit lower than that, right down here, I got this extra little bit of padded protection. It's just the carbon fiber rock guards, bottom guard, I guess, and it has come in handy several times. I remember my first time at Spider Mountain and starting to hear the rocks getting flung up at speeds and hitting my frame and hearing that noise and like, you know, being sketched out about it. I'm sure it's fine. I mean, it's been fine. No reason to put that much stress into it. But this thing has taken some abuse. If I flip it over, I can show you some of the rocks that this thing has taken instead of taking my frame, or instead of going to my frame, has been taken to that instead. That thing has been money. Fit, and then I kind of just put my all mountain design around it, and it looks really good. So I highly recommend this Rock Guards upgrade on any bike. I will have this on any bike that I have, especially if you're running carbon. Okay, keeping with the theme here, we're gonna move down to the pedals, all right? I have the 1UP component pedals. Absolutely love these pedals. I went from the pedals that I had on there were a Crank Brothers pedal, which were great. They're the Crank Brothers large. They were stamped 3. They worked very well, but they were just a bit wider for my foot platform than I really liked. These ones actually go right to the edge of my foot so I can really feel where my foot is. The other thing that I like is the flange on here that it feels beefy and stiff, and it's right next to the crank, so your foot gets really close to the crank and stays really close to the crank. On the Crank Brothers stamps, on my Crank Brothers stamps, they had a bit, you know, probably like a ½ inch of crank that came out that kind of took up that room. I always felt like that was a weak point, but I never had any problem with them. But I really like the style of how this flange meets right up next to the crank. I will definitely stay with the 1UP components pedals, probably for the rest of the time that I continue riding bike. Not going completely down to the cranks, because first I want to visit with you guys about this part right here, my Cascade Components LT link for the Bronson. This thing completely changed how the rear end of this bike feels. I mean, completely. I could go into some serious detail about it, but it was all for the good. The main thing that this thing did is it took it from a 150 millimeter travel bike to a 160 millimeter travel bike. Helped with the progression a ton. I mean, just a ton. You can really feel the difference in that. But it also dropped the bottom bracket height about 2 millimeters shorter than whenever the bike is in its lowest setting, which meant that I was definitely getting more pedal strikes on climbing stuff, like, you know, technical steep climbs. I was definitely getting more pedal strikes on rocks and roots and things like that than I had before. So in order to combat that, I decided to get a 170 millimeter crank. So I had 175 millimeter cranks on it. I went to a 170, completely eliminated that. I have so much more confidence whenever I'm pedaling up towards steep, rocky sections, and I'm not gonna clip a pedal or hit the bottom or anything like that. It was definitely a game changer and well worth it, because the bike still has all the characteristics that you want with that Cascade Components link, but without having to worry about the pedal strikes. Had this bike been my bike park enduro bike, and like that's all I ever did on it, like you would never feel the difference. I don't think you would ever have to worry about the pedal strike thing. But because this is my, you know, basically everyday trail bike, and I do a lot of, you know, steep climbs and things like that, I wanted to have more confidence in doing that. So that's why I decided to go away from the 175 to the 170 cranks. Okay, I just flipped the bike around so we kind of get a better view at the crankset. What I ended up doing was, I mentioned that I switched to a 170. I should have went with the X01, but I wasn't sure if I was going to like the 170 or if I was going to go to the 175, so I want to spend the extra $200. So I ended up going with the GX crankset that are carbon, and it's paired up with a 32 tooth chainring. Works great. That's what the bike came with. I had a 34 on for a very short amount of time. On the climbs, it was a little tougher. So I went back to the 32, made a big difference. I'll probably stay with the 32 and for the rest of this bike's life. I'll probably stay with the 32 until I get another bike, and then that'll be a 32. Paired up, of course, with the X01 derailleur, X01 cassette group, which is the, I believe it's 11 to 50 tooth, not 52, 52 tooth, yeah. And of course the X01 shifter, the X01 shifter, which is, I mean, if you haven't ridden a bike that has X01 or XX1, you just don't know what you're missing out on. Like being able to rack through those gears and timing everything with it, like it's such a breeze. It is such a breeze. And then being able to have the ability to change the thumb shifter to the degree of angle that you want, like just being able to have that ability to adjust that is worth going X01 or XX1. Moving on here. All right, so nothing left to do but to talk about the wheels and the tires. So let's start with that. Currently what's on the bike are the Santa Cruz Carbon Reserve 37 millimeter internal width wide baby carbon wheels. Absolutely love them. They are laced up on my DT Swiss hubs. I got the 54 tooth ratchet in the back. They work great. They're easy to service. They have been bulletproof. The wheels that came on here before I switched over to the Carbon Reserves, they were the Race Face ARC 30 millimeter width. Nothing wrong with that wheel. I got along great with it. I just knew that I wanted to get into more enduro-esque type trails, and having a little bit more air volume and being able to go to a little bit wider tire, like just intrigued me. So that's why I decided to go with the 37 millimeter internal on my Carbon Reserve wheels. I don't know what else to say about them. They're great. Everybody knows that the Santa Cruz Carbon Reserve wheels are great and bulletproof. And if you haven't seen Danny McAllister try to freaking smash one until he smashes one, these things are built tough. What's left to talk about? I guess we're gonna talk about the tires. Tires are a big part of your bike, and I've made quite a few changes. I shouldn't say I've made quite a few changes. I've had many different brands and types of tires on here. The bike originally came with a DHF front, 2.5, and a R2 2.4. Great tire combo setup. I mean, a lot of people run that tire setup. Little slow whenever you're riding trails, but very good, beefy, burly, predictable tires, right? I like them. I still have those tires, actually. I still have those tires and they still have life in them. But I went ahead and switched that up and I put some WTB tires on there. I had a Vigilante on the front, the Trail Boss on the rear, like that combo, same 2.5, 2.4. But since I got the carbon reserves, I decided that I wanted to go 2.6. So currently what's on the bike is a 2.6 Mazda up front, which is absolutely, I mean, it's very similar to the DHF. Very confident in that tire, 2.6. And then the rear here, currently, I have a Morsa that they don't even make anymore. It's Victoria brand, Morsa 2.6, 27.5 tire. Absolutely love that tire. Definitely more of a front wheel tire than a rear. It's kind of like a semi-slick in the rear, especially right now since it's really chewed up and needs to be replaced soon, but it's a lot of fun. The back end gets a little loosey-goosey on me, but I absolutely love the Victoria tires. These tires have been really, really good. I love how stiff the sidewalls are. I love how predictable the wheel is. I'm sorry, I love how predictable the tire is. The tire pressure that I use was very easy to find. I don't have to mess with it. I know that I run 23 in the front and 24.5 in the rear, and man, this bike flies for me. I absolutely love that tire setup. I don't know what else is left to talk about. I just wanted to do a quick bike check and let you guys know what I have. Tell me about what you have on your Bronson or your bike. Or if you have any questions about what I have on my bike, let me know. I love to talk about bikes in general. But if you have a Bronson, let me know if you have any questions about my Bronson. Peace out, YouTube. Go ride your bike.